Welcome back to another episode of this Brawn GP My Team Career Mode. Starting off with a personnel activity, just going through that quickly, and then going to our messages to say points on the board finally for the team after a very decent Chinese Grand Prix as a performance comparison. That's not being that very high on the grid. Now going to development, just developing some part of the aerodynamics as well as no more of the chassis, and just going through the rest to make sure if we can there's no more. So we can now decide to do some more research on the aerodynamic side of things. We can't do any more on the chassis as of yet, but on the powertrain we still can't, and durability we are still currently doing one. So now back to the corporate facilities. We're now going to look for a facility improvement. We're going to look around through here and buy a chassis development expansion. A research expansion. I was in fact wrong. Going to facility improvements here, that one's still waiting to happen. Now back to the simulation, just seeing we've got another development on the car. We can now assign another upgrade, as well as continue to develop the second part of the upgrade, as well as develop the pistons as well. Now, for the powertrain side of things, we're going to give the first set of pistons to Victor Martin, just so we can hopefully give our teammate a better chance. Going to owner training now. We finally have our first training point. So we're going to put it on this so we can get 20 resource points every single time we simulate part. And after doing the activities, we've got to do the owner training on the activity to actually get it done. So just making sure that we can put all the activities together, get as much money, get as much fan rating in, get the resource points in from these, and get the morale and focus up of the drivers, as well as the fan rating, which may cost us a bit of money, but it should be worth it in the long term, as that should help us bring more money in for the future side of things. Looking at our team stats, we have a top 10 finish, 4 races finishes, and now we're going to go back to the advancing, and we've got that done. Just finishing up some more research here in the aerodynamic side of things. Decided to research the floor for a upgrade, and now going to the race weekend. Who are we going to choose to race as again? We're going to race once again as Jensen Button for this Japanese Grand Prix. Just finishing up some quick practice here now to make sure we can get maximum resource points, which means we can develop even more on the car. But obviously, before we can develop even more, we need to get these facility upgrades in so that we can do multiple at a time. And we can see we've just done all the programs now, and it's time to move on to qualifying for the Japanese Grand Prix. Over to you, Crofty.
A warm welcome, everybody, from a venue that has seen plenty of sensational laps over the years. Remember, Verstappen in 23, Vettel in 2019, some phenomenal pole laps. But whose will it be today?
We have arrived for qualifying. Let's go straight into our first lap time, making our way on the exit of Spoon Curve and down the back straight towards the famous 130R. We saw Fernando Alonso and Michael Schumacher wheel-to-wheel once. That was one of the most famous wheel-to-wheel moments in Formula 1. Making our way towards the final chicane we go now. My first lap of Japan in this car actually felt quite alright. Through the S's and all that, up and around the final corner we go now. DRS activated over the line. It's a 30.181, and I actually think this was good enough for Q2, in which I was correct. The bottom 6 was Isaac Hadjar, Jack Doohan, Oliver Behrman, Victor Martin, Nico Hulkenberg, and Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin. First used tyre run here in qualifying at the Japanese Grand Prix. Around the final corner we go. Actually felt like quite a decent lap, and we go ahead of Alonso, ahead of Lawson. And now on our final run, we need to find a lot more time. We've actually fallen down to P16. We're just going to need to chuck it through this final chicane. We find another 10th, and then we don't have the greatest exit, only finding 200ths. And now over the line we go, and it's going to be an improvement. It's not going to be Q3 yet. It's only P13 on the grid for Sunday's race. The bottom 6 that was eliminated: Gasly, Albon, Lawson, Button, Alonso, and Carlos Sainz. Time to go on to Sunday's Grand Prix. Lining up P13, Victor Martin lining up in a decent place as well. Let's go to the grid for the race.
Welcome along to the legendary Suzuka. This classic racetrack boasts a long history dating right back to 1962 when it was first opened. Will more history be written here today at the Japanese Grand Prix? 18 corners make up a lap of the incredible figure-of-8 Suzuka circuit, with 10 to the right and 8 to the left, for a distance of 3.6 miles. Average lap speeds around here are fairly quick. If it stays dry, then expect somewhere in the region of 136 miles per hour. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And Lando Norris lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Piastri, Leclerc, Yuki Tsunoda, and Hamilton, Russell, Antonelli, Ocon, and Gabriel Bortoleto, Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Jenson Button, and Lawson, Albon, Gasly, Lance Stroll, and Nico Hülkenberg. Martins, Behrman, Doohan, and Isaac Hadjar rounds off the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. And alongside me today is a man who needs no introduction, but I'll try anyway. It's Ant Davidson, glorious Suzuka. It's a bit like Silverstone, an iconic track for which we couldn't have an F1 season without it. And so much for the drivers to think about around here.
Absolutely, Crofty. The only figure-of-8 circuit that we have on the calendar, and you kind of wonder, why don't we have more? Because it's such a good format. The drivers love this track. It's got a great flow to it, a fantastic circuit. Not the best for overtaking, but my goodness, from inside the car, it's a real treat for the drivers.
Here is the set strategy for today's race: soft and then a double stint with mediums.
So the formation lap gets underway here in Japan. This circuit is one of the favourites amongst the drivers, and I'm sure each and every one of them is looking forward to the race ahead. All of them hoping they can leave Suzuka on a high note. We're almost ready to start the race as the cars take their positions on the grid, with the drivers and teams making their final preparations.
Wait the 5 red lights to tick on one by one to signal the start of the Japanese Grand Prix. 5 lights on, 5 lights out, foot to the floor, and we're racing. We get a way better start than Fernando Alonso, making our way down towards turn 1. There's 3 wide up ahead, and we're on the inside there, and you can see so many cars going wide. There's probably at least 5 or 6 cars who have gone wider, and now wheel to wheel with Esteban Ocon going into the S's, and we go around the outside, switch to the inside so we can get our car and block his door shut. Now Bortoleto and Sainz wheel to wheel ahead, and Sainz slowed up even more, and we run up into the back of him, and we lose our end plate, and we lose part of the front wing fencing, and now we try to go around the outside, and I didn't realise how bad the damage was. We go straight off into the gravel, and now we're alongside Pierre Gasly, back down into P14. We're now going to send it on the inside of Gasly and Ocon. We're going to go back up into P12, but the damage is a lot more severe than I first thought into this race. All lights to the lights, and it's lights out, and away we go for the Japanese Grand Prix. It's a poor start from Max Verstappen. Here comes Oscar Piastri into turn 1. The Australian takes the lead on the inside. Lando Norris pushes Verstappen wide, as does Leclerc and Tsunoda go wide, and there was probably 2 more cars at the back there that went wide. It's damage for the Scuderia Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. Piastri leads from Norris, then Hamilton. Verstappen gets ahead of Charles Leclerc, and now here goes George Russell around the outside, as well as Yuki Tsunoda around the outside of Kimi Antonelli. Russell ahead of Leclerc. Tsunoda and Antonelli wheel to wheel now, and Tsunoda I think just ahead of Kimi Antonelli. Here's Bortoletto and Carlos Sainz going wheel to wheel into Degler 1, and Bortoletto is up in the P9. I think that was a Brawn GP car off in the background there. It's Lando Norris who leads the race, and here is just a slow motion replay of turn 1. You can see Verstappen, Leclerc, Tsunoda, a Haas there, I think, of Esteban Ocon going wide. I think as well as the Sauber of, I want to say, Bortoletto did as well. Absolute chaos on the start. On board now was Max Verstappen. The lights go out and he just bulks down on the start. And you can just see Oscar Piastri straight away flying on the outside. He's already into the lead. And then you can see Lando Norris in the wing mirror on the inside. Leads Verstappen no room. Shoves him completely off the track. That then allows Hamilton to go through. And then the contact with Charles Leclerc on the exit of turn number 1. And Verstappen and Leclerc wheel to wheel. And Verstappen able just to jump ahead. And here's Leclerc now. Gets a much better start. Probably gets a better start in the top 4. But then gets boxed in by the McLarens and Verstappen. And they're 3 wide. Hamilton, Leclerc and Tsunoda. And Hamilton pushes Leclerc wide, which then has to push Yuki wide. And then there's contact with Max Verstappen. I think the damage came from contact with his teammate. Leclerc and Hamilton coming together on the opening lap in Japan. Now on board with Oscar Piastri. Quite a plain sailing start for this. The lights go out and he flies off the line with those soft top compound tyres. Against the 2 hard tyres, you'd expect him to fly off the line, and he's already into the lead when they get into turn number 1. Now on board with Lando Norris. He gets a decent start on the hard tyres, and Verstappen not getting away the best here as we're powering our way down towards turn number 1, and he gets in front of the apex and just shoves his rival completely off the road, bulking him down to P4. Now on board with Hamilton, he gets a very decent start, and he's probably got the best start of the lot, but then gets blocked off by Lando Norris quite smartly. Then on the inside, just pushes Leclerc wide, and then contact with Leclerc. Our front wing damage is way too severe to be able to carry on, so disastrous lap 1 for our front wing damage again this season. We're going to have to come in, change the tyres, go back onto our other set of new soft tyres, change the front wing. Quite a decent speeding stop if you consider we have to change the front wing as well. Make it stumbling our way now down the pit lane. Just see Charles Leclerc and the Ferrari on the right. They're actually going to jump. We're actually going to jump Charles Leclerc, who must have had issues getting the front nose off. And on pit exit, we're a P21 over 20 seconds ahead. We've lost 28 seconds of race time, which could come crucial come the end of the race, as we could have been fighting for points maybe. Here goes George Russell on the inside of Max Verstappen into turn number 1. Max Verstappen ran the outside of George Russell, but Russell consistent on the inside. Now on the power on the exit of turn 1. Verstappen has to fall down to 5th, and Russell's up in the 4th. Now to making our way towards the final chicane, we go. Charles Leclerc is gaining on us, but I don't ideally want him in front because I feel like our pace is really good right now. We're gaining hand over fist multiple seconds a lap, turning on the overtake button in a defensive manner. 32.1 is our new personal best of the race. Leclerc's gaining on us. We're going to go defensive towards the inside, and before we even get to turn 1, Leclerc turns into our car, and we now have underfloor damage as Leclerc tries now the up and under after hitting us, so we go wide, and then Leclerc, expecting to back out. We turn in, we collide with Leclerc, and he gets more front wing damage, and that solidifies his race to be done and dusted. Here we are on lap 7 of 27, and we are rapidly gaining on the cars ahead. Remember, that gap was like 20 odd seconds a couple of laps ago. It's now down to Jack Doohan at least 11.6, and we are 6.4 seconds behind Alex Albon. And I asked for the driver in front, and if you just look at the subtitles below, we're gaining at least 2 seconds a lap on him. He's that slow. He must have front wing damage as well. His tyres are 7 laps old. He's got 2 stops remaining, and he does actually have some minor front wing damage, which is maintaining his pace. But we are gaining hand over fist 2 seconds a lap. This lap is the lap we're going to decide to come into the pit lane, as these soft tyres are pretty much dead as we now enter the pit lane and slow down to 80 kilometers an hour. We are at the front of the pit lane as now Japan is LiDAR scanned. The pit lanes are swapped around in real life, so we have the privilege of being the first garage like we are constructor champions. Now trundling down the pit lane towards pit exit. Our goal is to try and undercut Albon, maybe doing as well with how much faster we should be on newer tyres. One stop to go, can the undercut work? Here we go, down the main straight. Albon, Martins, all in the pit lane. We're going to come up behind our teammate, but we are going to be ahead of Alex Albon, and I believe Isaac Hadjar actually has some front wing damage as well, so this should help us catch up to our teammate as well. Making our way through the S's. We need to recharge our battery as well if we want to be competitive in the latter stages, but this undercut, this strategy we want could make us, will be helping us fight for the top half positions. And now we're on the back of Isaac Hadjar through Degner 2 we go, eyeing up a move, probably into the hairpin we go. Now we're close enough, Hadjar doesn't defend it, we dive down the inside, major lockup from the V-carb. Now we'll stand on the power on the exit of the hairpin, we get ahead and we are up into P19 as we are now hunting down our teammate. Down the main straight we go, not close enough, but Max Verstappen actually is out of the race, out of a twist of events. The championship leader is out of the race. You can see now through Degner 1 on the curb, debris sparks up, and then instantly the mechanical failure happens. Was that due to him hitting the curb wrong? His engine has gone kaput and the smoke pouring out the back of the Red Bull. Verstappen's day in Japan is over. Now, through Degner 1 we go, approaching Degner 1 and then towards Degner 2. We are really close to our teammate now. Well, we're probably eyeing up a move on our teammate into the hairpin this time around. We pulled 6 seconds on Hadjar. We're diving on the inside of Martins. And that is another position gain up to P17. We are on a charge at the moment on this medium compound of tyres. But on the next lap, we come through the final chicane once again. And once again, we're going to do our final pit stop of this race. Into the pits we go to go on to our final set of medium compound tyres. Once again, into the first garage, 79 kilometres we was on the speed coming into the pit. So we absolutely nailed the pit entry. Medium tyres go on. Best pit stop of the race. Better than our estimated time. 2.4 seconds. And as we now trundle down the pit lane towards pit exit again, our goal was to come out ahead of Albon, but we're not going to do that, unfortunately. But hopefully we're ahead of Leclerc, which we will be, and we can now get hunting for this undercut. Now making our way down towards turn 1, we see Lance Stroll's just come out ahead of us, and we wanted to stay with him, but we've got Albon who's had major damage this whole race. Going to be a bit of a blockage now, especially the fact he's on old tyres as well, old medium tyres. Making our way through the S's, we've got so much more grip now. We're going to try and just hang it out around the outside. It's going to turn to the inside on the uphill left, and we have to use the grass for part of the overtake, but we get the job done on the uphill left on Alexander Albon. And now we're just going to throw the car through the Degners as we want to try and catch up to the back of Lance Stroll. Now, into the final chicane we go. Liam Lawson is the car next up. I think he actually has DRS on Stroll ahead, which is going to make this overtake a bit more difficult than it has to be. But we're going to turn on the overtake button. Down the main straight we go. We're not going to go to the inside yet so we don't make him defend, but we pull out last second and dive down the inside of Liam Lawson. But what I didn't want to do, I didn't want to let Doohan through, but Doohan read the situation perfectly and is up into the next place as now Doohan flies past us into P13 in the turn 1. I did want to fight it, but at the same time I didn't due to his better tyres. Now round the final corner we go. Closer to Lance Stroll we are.
We're catching the car ahead. Well done. But be aware, these tyres need to get us to the end of this race.
Turn number 1 we go now. On the inside Lance Stroll, can we go? No, we can't. We are not close enough. Currently fine as a P13. Considering we were last, we were P21 at the end of lap 1. I would definitely take this, considering how much we lost. On to the penultimate lap of the race we go now, gaining on Lance Stroll. I didn't want to try and get the move done because my mediums are dying off and those softs will be better. We're going to maybe look to the inside, not close enough, but we're going to make a dive on the inside line. Stroll then drives wide off the track, has a moment coming back on the track, hits us and gives us minor front wing damage and basically solidifies us down in P14. Round the final corners we go now with Lando Norris. The Briton driver will round the final corner. Lando Norris wins the Japanese Grand Prix, and with that takes the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Yuki Tsunoda gets P2 in his home race, and then Oscar Piastri finishes off the podium. McLaren first and third. Tsunoda in a McLaren sandwich at the flag, but it's Lando Norris who is victorious once again in Formula 1. He's getting used to it now, isn't he? Now, we make our way through 130R on the last lap. We're not close enough to anyone to make a move. It's going to be set in stone, P14. And you'll see soon, as we lost 28 seconds in the pit lane, you'll see on the race results where we could have actually finished had we not got damage from that.
Here's the checkered flag. The fans rise to their feet. It's Lando Norris for victory.
Well, it's never easy and straightforward to put a race like this together today, Crofty, in changeable weather conditions, but they did the best job out there. They used the information wisely and they stayed on the track. That was the most important thing.
From lights out to the checkered flag, each and every driver has this moment in the back of their mind. Now it's time for their celebrations. Our podium, it awaits. He holds the trophy aloft, and why shouldn't he? A richly deserved win today for Lando Norris. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula 1.
Here are your race results. Lando Norris wins ahead of Yuki Tsunoda, Oscar Piastri in third, then Hamilton in fourth, Russell fifth, Antonelli sixth, Sainz in seventh, Alonso eighth, Bortoletto 10th, Esteban Ocon in 10th. That's your top 10. And look how far we was, 57 seconds. If you take 28 off that, we would have finished ahead of Kimi Antonelli. We would have got P6 in that race. Here's the Drivers' Championship. Lando Norris leads by 2 points. Hamilton 16 points behind, and Tsunoda 18 points back. The top 5 will win a race win of each other. That's unfamiliar language considering how the start of 2024 went when Verstappen had that absolute flying start. There's the constructors as well. Red Bull lead by 1 point ahead of McLaren. If you did enjoy watching this episode, please consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you all for the next one out in the Bahrain Grand Prix.